As it stands in 2016, the Tony Hawk Pro Skater franchise is all but dead after 2015's Pro Skater 5 released to an army of enraged fans and underwhelming sales. It's fair to say that it's unlikely we'll be seeing another installment in the iconic franchise anytime soon.
But when did it all go wrong? The Tony Hawk franchise didn't simply die overnight, and I was curious to see at which point the series started deteriorating. I decided to play the first 6 installments in the Tony Hawk series to better understand the progression of the historic franchise, but also to just relive the golden years of one of gaming's most recognizable franchises.
1999 was a great year for video games. Final Fantasy VIII, System Shock 2, Quake 3 Arena, and the debut of Tony Hawk's digitized Dynasty. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater originally began life on a modified engine of developer Neversoft's previous game, Apocalypse, notoriously starring Bruce Willis. During development, Tony Hawk himself was sent updated versions of the game as it was developed, as his feedback would become essential to the game's look, feel, sound, and overall personality. "17 years on, it's easy to understand why Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was such a zeitgeist for its era. The brazen punk soundtrack, urban environments, and gratuitous gore were the universal language of the late 90s. It was fettered from any whitewashed, dumbed-down attempt to pander to audiences, and had a tone of extreme authenticity. While later installments would build upon the mechanical complexity of skating, most of the blueprints had been laid down from the get-go. Kickflips, grabs, and grinding were all a digital skater needed to rack up insane combos and pull off awe-inspiring tricks. 9 levels broke up the action and offered players a variety of area-specific objectives. While collecting skate and amassing enormous point totals were present in all levels, environments had context-specific goals that required sometimes oblique approaches that would only get more and more obscure as the series progressed. Pro Skater 1 served as an entree of what was to come for the next millennium, a visceral attitude that broke away from sports games of old, following in the steps of NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, but only now in a setting so familiar it could have taken place in your own backyard, and it was only just getting started. Just over 12 months later, developer Neversoft struck back with what is arguably the greatest skating game ever made. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 crystallized everything that would become the norm in future Pro Skater titles. Diverse and creative level design, creating your very own custom skater, and even giving life to a virtual skate park of your own in the Creator Park mode. Controls were refined and adjusted to a near-perfect sheen. Also, the introduction of the manual gave rise to ridiculous combo sequences, and in general the level design was better suited to players looking to test the limits of their abilities. Level objectives continued in their weirdness, like jumping over the magic bum in Venice Beach, while comps heightened the competitive aspect that had until then only existed between friends trying to outdo each other's scores. After only 2 entries, the Pro Skater series was already entrenched into pop culture, giving rise to a generation of skateboarders and becoming the definitive sporting titles of the early 2000s. Again, just a year later, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 emerged to maintain the chokehold Neversoft held on extreme sports gaming. Pro Skater 3 was emblematic of the time it was released, coming out mere months after the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. It was a technical marvel for its level of detail and environmental density, especially considering Pro Skater 2 was only a year old. A 10 out of 10 grade from GameSpot cemented that not only could this series sell, but also excel within the industry. Over the next few years, the Pro Skater franchise would become an institution for gamers. After the release of the first Pro Skater, a new title would hit store shelves every year for the next 9 years. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 is certainly more open to trying new ideas, focusing on more open-ended environments without a constant ticking clock berating the player. It's here the series diverges from a simple arcade title and towards a more modern hub world focus. It encourages the player to explore environments and promotes a more relaxing tone. Gameplay is struggling to keep up though. While still enjoyable, if the past Tony Hawk titles hadn't grabbed your attention thus far, Pro Skater 4 is unlikely to reel you in. The consequences of annualized releases are starting to show their impact. And it's with that we arrive at Tony Hawk's Underground, easily the biggest risk taken by Neversoft until this point. A fully cinematic story, getting off your board, light parkour elements, it's really an Underground that Neversoft directly addresses a lack of variety in the series until now. And while it's refreshing to have new elements thrown into the mix, the story is anything but interesting, and getting off your board is a novel addition to gameplay that adds nothing except downtime between skating. There's also a distinct tonal shift in Underground, a dirtier, more adult approach to cater to the series' aging demographic. Within moments of starting, you're introduced to drug-dealing vandals who destroy your friend's board and eventually drive you out of town in fear of being killed. You know, just another day as an adolescent skater.
Most of them are pretty fried, so it should be easy to stay out of earshot.
But really, gameplay variety is addressed in the most rudimentary manner. Instead of rethinking the way that skateboarding mechanically operates, Neversoft instead inserts half-baked concepts that add a trivial sense of diversity. Like, why on earth would I want to drive a car in a Tony Hawk game? These moments exist because Neversoft acknowledges the lack of variety, but never goes far enough to implement systems that create it, instead obfuscating what the series is even supposed to be. With Tony Hawk's Underground 2, the same issues are apparent. I love the tutorial level though, a modern recreation of the first Pro Skater's opening level. There's even an arcade cabinet in the corner with Pro Skater 1's logo. The scripted story remains an integral aspect of Underground 2, bringing Bam Margera of Jackass fame on board to deliver supposedly hilarious one-liners. Gameplay as always remains indistinguishable from previous titles, and a litany of gameplay quirks are introduced to inject a sense of variety. The next year saw the release of Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, adding the ability to ride BMX bikes, followed by Project 8 and Proving Grounds respectively. And it's here in 2008 that we see the first year off from the franchise since the first Pro Skater. And with that, we finally have some time to breathe and talk about annualized franchises. Firstly, I admit that the Pro Skater series isn't the most ideal franchise to completely overhaul every few years, as the series enjoyed success initially with annualized releases. The problem at hand is the attitude that comes with annualized franchises. The thing is, when we talk about annualized franchises, we're talking about a business model, wherein games become products in competition to meet release windows. Business and art works best when it can exist in a bipartisan effort. When either one factor becomes too dominant, you can be left with some wanting results. When a game's artistic aspirations take priority and create claims too outlandish to ever fulfill, or when a title is so sardonically manufactured to fit a pre-established mold that it comes across as hollow and vapid.
My argument though isn't that franchises are bad for our industry, but that rehashing ideas can be extremely corrosive to the quality of releases. A franchise can constantly reinvent itself and employ new design elements the same way that a new IP can feel derivative and unoriginal right from the word go.
This, ultimately, is a battle of ideas and the financial risk that can often be associated with implementing them. I'm here with my very own copy of Tony Hawk's Ride, Activision's first and last attempt to revitalize the series with a fresh new concept. This new idea came in the form of a physical board that acts as the controller for virtual skating. Let's see if Activision succeeded in their attempt to innovate on the Pro Skater series.
Hey, thanks for picking up Tony Hawk Ride. What you have in your hands is one of the most advanced game controllers ever made, and we are stoked that you're about to experience skateboard video gaming at its best.
So terrified.
What do you guys do around there for fun?
I love how the game acknowledges how boring this is by trying to make small talk with you. It begins.
This is a true Cinderella story. Just a few days ago, they were called up by P-Rod for a special mission in Southern California.
Ah! I'm doing it!
Make sure your back foot is positioned properly on the back curve of the board.
This requires a serious amount of balance. So then it's still not letting me move yet. I wonder why. I did it.
Keep your ollie position and see how it feels when you tilt.
They should have given you like a bar to hold on the side like this while you play. Oh, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing now, to be honest. I'm just sort of going along with it. If I wanted to skate, I would buy a skateboard and do it. This is not working. This is not working. Oh, fuck. This is so unresponsive. I can't even get past the tutorial. This board is not responsive. I think the technical limitations of this are starting to show. Oh God. I'm like battling with my body to still like get this sorted. Do you reckon when they were making this and people were playing it and it didn't work, people thought maybe we shouldn't sell this, but that conversation obviously didn't happen. Can I skip this? You know the best part about this game so far is that they let you skip the parts that don't work. Yeah. You know what? I wasn't not enjoying myself, but I think at the same time, I wouldn't say by any chance, like this is definitely not the way I want to play Tony Hawk. I do admire it for trying something different because God, this is something different and my legs already hurt. Maybe I'm just really unfit. This is kind of cool, but at the same time, I feel like, oh, that's cool. I feel like the game's kind of playing me though, to be honest. Like I'm not doing anything special to get these moves. Like I'm just jumping. I think the biggest problem with this is that I don't feel like my actual moves are making any difference on gameplay. I feel like I'm just making gestures and stuff's happening. In conclusion, I'd say that like this actually works, but obviously didn't catch on with major audiences because, I mean, it's not very consistent and it doesn't really make you feel like a skater. If anything, it's kind of just like a gimmick. Like you kind of flail your legs around and fall over and stuff just sort of happens on the screen. So I don't know, maybe the Tony Hawk franchise is maybe better off sticking to a controller, hey? Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I just wanted to send a big shout out to all of my subscribers on my channel. Hitting 100 subscribers was the first milestone for this channel and it was an excellent thing to see. Thank you so much for everyone's support and I really look forward to hitting more milestones in the future. Let me know in the comments below as well what your favorite game in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater franchise was. I think in my time playing, making this video, definitely number 2 stood out to me as my favorite. But let me know if you think I was wrong as well, if you disagree with any of my opinions. I'd love to have a chat in the comments below. So let me know, and until next time, see ya.
All of the key mechanics of Pro Skater are all returning in there, so people who are longtime fans, they'll know instantly how to play it. 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 They'll know instantly how to play it.